Okay, so this problem asks us to find the distance between 2 points in the coordinate plane, and I also provided up here the distance formula, which is effectively the Pythagorean theorem. It's really the change in the x squared plus the change in the y squared, and then add those together and take a square root. Okay, so in our first problem here on the left, in this problem, the -6 is the x1, and the 1 is the y1. The -2 is the x2, and the 4 is the y2. Right, it actually doesn't technically matter which one's x1, y1, and which one's x2, y2 in terms of switching both the 2's on the first one and the 1's on the second one, but it's easier to go in numerical order. So of course we're referring to the x and the y coordinates here. So what do we have to do with our square root now to find our distance? We're going to have to do the distance equals the square root of x2, which is -2, minus x1, which is -6, quantity squared, plus y2, which is 4, minus y1, which is 1 squared. So far that's just putting it into the formula, right? We haven't done any actual calculation. Okay, but what happens in our next stage? Well, now let's start to do some simplification. Square root of, let's see, -2 minus -6 would be -2 plus 6, so there's a 4 squared, plus 4 minus 1 is 3, and 3 squared would then be the quantity over here. Oh, that's convenient, isn't it? 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, so we're really talking about the square root of 25, which hopefully we know is 5. So the distance between the first 2 points is actually exactly equal to 5. Okay, so why don't you pause the video and see if you can do the second problem on your own here. And assuming you took a good shot at it here, let's do it together now. D equals big square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. All right, so far that's just taking the x1, y1, and the x2, y2 and plugging them essentially blindly into the formula. Next, square root, let's see, -2 minus 2 is -4 squared plus, let's see, -1 minus -9 would be -1 plus 9, which is an 8, so I guess this one would be an 8 squared. So now we have square root of 16 plus 64, also known as square root of 80. Okay, and this one can be simplified, so let's take a moment to simplify it down a bit. Remember, 80 is actually 16 times 5, and 16 is itself a perfect square of 4 with 4. So 80 simplified would be, radical 80, sorry, simplified would be 4 times the square root of 5. So that would be our final answer for the distance between those second 2 points.